operations manager, and he, along with his deputy, Art Thompson, were responsible for assembling the flight spacecraft, testing it, and getting it down to the launch pad for launch. That's actually what he did for a day job. So the pandemic struck about a year ago, and Dave and I and Art and others were just constantly on the phone trying to figure out how to react to it and how to respond to it. You know, I said it before, we didn't have a lot of margin, we didn't have a lot of time. You know, we were figuring out a lot of things as quickly as we could, and our focus was shifted from trying to get the spacecraft built and tested correctly and staying on schedule for the launch, because if you miss it, you got to wait 2 years for these planetary launches to Mars. And suddenly our whole focus had to change to keeping the people safe and keeping their families safe as a number one priority. And I wasn't sure, honestly, I wasn't sure we could do that. And I knew that if we couldn't keep them just as safe as they would be at home doing other things, that, you know, that could be it for us for this opportunity. We got tremendous support across the board from the institution here at JPL, from headquarters, Thomas and SMD, and we got through it. But that was the existential moment for me. That time right there, the first 3 to 6 weeks after COVID really hit hard. So, anybody else?
Same answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Same answers. Okay.
Yeah. I'll add to that. One of the things that's interesting about these jobs we have are we spend years. I mean, 7 or 8 years for me and all these guys. Years and years of work building, testing, making sure it's going to work. And you know, I have to say there's some amount of stress involved when you spend 7 years of your career doing something and then it all comes down to like one moment. And for me, it's obviously like those first images that come from the cameras. Like, you really want that to work, like really, really want it to work. And you've tried everything you can do to make sure it'll work. And so, but you know, it's definitely, you know, we try to be open-minded about what could go wrong. We try to cover all our bases. And that's what's one of the great things about JPL is that there's a team of people here, really smart people. You go to these reviews to review your product, your designs. We call them withering reviews. You get a lot of tough questions, but that's one of the really, you know, JPL is a real gem of a place because we built this culture of always questioning what could go wrong, but hoping for the best, and it's a really interesting experience. I think we all share that.
I will agree. I think we invite the feedback from each other and our reviewers to make sure that we are thinking about all the things that we need to think about and pushing ourselves to meet those challenges. And of course you want it all to work, but you know, there are some things that, you know, you worry that you didn't think about, but as a community and as a collective and as, you know, a team, you know, we use each other to help make sure that we're covering those bases.
I mean, the team really did persevere, and we are here today. Up next is Leo Enright from Irish Television.
Thanks very much, Raquel. I just realized there's no doubt about it. 12-year-olds definitely ask the best questions. But if you'll forgive me for going geeky on this, could somebody talk to the traversability of Canyon de Chelly now that you've seen these amazing pictures? Do you think that you can just simply turn around the rover and head directly west-northwest, possibly right past the descent stage? Or realistically, are you going to have to go to the northeast, around Olympic, and then to Chamanfoya? I'm sorry for being geeky, but it's kind of a serious question. Can you move quickly?
So I can, I'll comment, and I'll let Ken comment also. You know, we have spent, you know, as we do in our development program, as we were mentioning, you know, a lot of time in different conditions to evaluate the performance of our system. And one of the things that we did on this mission compared to other missions was to enhance that traversability capability with enhanced autonomous navigation and as well as processing while we're driving, so to increase our drive rates. Now, we have many more images still to assess in terms of evaluating our path forward, but I'll let Ken speak to maybe some of the areas that we are interested in pursuing. And what's really great is that we work together, with the science and engineering team to evaluate those paths and what sort of terrain is the best for our system.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's our major focus right now on the science team is answering exactly that question. What are we going to do? What do we want to do? Where do we want to go? And I'll say, first of all, we're so extraordinarily happy about exactly where we've put down, because we ended up right on this major geologic feature, this contact, we call it, between two differently mapped units. And so, you see there's this sort of, undulating feature, that, this sort of obvious line, that we're landed right next to. And that's the big contact. One of the major features we were hoping to explore in this mission. And it presents for us, one of the big mysteries. I mentioned the possible vesicles. It gets down to one of the big questions for us early on is what is that crater floor made of? And are there igneous rocks there, sedimentary rocks, both? There's a lot of implications for both. So what I would say we're probably currently leaning toward is exploring that contact, which would naturally lead us more, I think, to the second of the two options. But we'll see. We've got a good amount of time while the team does the commissioning and checks all the systems out. And during that time, we'll be digesting all those new images and doing a lot of strategic planning, evaluating different options, arguing amongst ourselves in the team. Right after this press conference is over, our first science team meeting post landing starts immediately after that. So we'll start talking about just those things. So we'll see.
Thank you, Jessica and Ken. Up next, we have Stephen Gorman from Reuters News.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So my question is, I have a question about the superlatives regarding the video footage of the EDL sequence and the audio of that gust of wind that was picked up on the Martian service by the Microsoft. So I believe, is it correct to say this video marks the first sort of moving footage of a spacecraft from that spacecraft showing its descent and landing on the surface of another world, Mars or any world, I think, right? Be that including the moon or an asteroid or anything. And then secondly, is this the first sound recording ever made on Mars or any celestial object other than Earth, or just the first one that was made that's been played back on Earth? I was wondering if you could just clarify that.
I can, let's see, on your first question, putting aside the Apollo program and the moon and just talking about planets, this is most certainly, I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, this is the first time we've been able to see our spacecraft land on another planet. And hopefully that answers the question that you asked. As far as sound, I'm not sure anybody else has any more information, but again, as to the best of my knowledge, this is the first planetary sound that's been recorded. So, yeah, go ahead, Justin.
I can add to that. In terms of sound, the InSight lander has a seismometer on it, and they did measure seismic signals that were acoustically driven, and then rendered that as audio. So that could be potentially another one. But in terms of imaging and doing video, MSL did have a descent imager that did video, 3.5 frames per second, so it was a little slower. That was the MARTI instrument. We've also done time-lapse of deployments of things on InSight. We deployed a seismometer and we do time-lapse video. Mars Pathfinder, we did time-lapse video of the rover driving down onto the surface. But then again, it's time-lapse, so seconds in between frames.